In the outer regions of the galaxy, there were thousands of predators. Some hunted in packs, some hunted with intelligence that rivaled advanced civilizations, and some were so dangerous that entire planets were marked off limits because of them. But among all those creatures, there was only one name that made even the most hardened alien hunters go silent: the apex beast of Carthos 9. No official species name had ever been given to it. Every scientific expedition sent to study it had ended the same way: broken ships, scattered equipment, and survivors who refused to speak about what they had seen. The creature didn't just kill, it hunted with terrifying precision. Armored vehicles designed for war had been torn open like fragile shells. Elite predator teams trained for the deadliest environments had vanished within minutes of landing. And the worst part? No one had ever managed to capture a clear recording of it. Only fragments. A shadow moving faster than targeting systems could track. A roar so deep it distorted audio sensors. Massive claw marks carved through reinforced alloy. After decades of failed attempts, the Galactic Predator Authority issued a permanent classification: Extinction Level Apex Predator. Planet Carthos 9 was immediately sealed. No civilian ships allowed. No exploration missions approved. Only authorized hunters could enter its atmosphere, and even they rarely returned. Over the years, the beast became more than just a creature. It became a legend of fear. New recruits in alien military academies were shown the wreckage of destroyed hunting vessels as a warning. Veteran hunters told stories about it in quiet bars on distant stations, their voices lowering whenever the creature was mentioned. Some claimed the beast could sense fear. Others believed it was intelligent enough to study its prey before striking. But everyone agreed on one thing: if you ever saw the apex beast of Carthos 9, you were already dead. Then one day, something impossible happened. It stopped hunting. At first, no one noticed. The creature had always been unpredictable. Weeks could pass without an attack before it suddenly appeared again. But this time, the silence lasted longer. A month passed. Then two. Monitoring satellites orbiting Carthos, 9 continued scanning the planet's surface. They were designed to track the creature's unique biological energy signature, something unlike anything else in known space. For decades, that signal had been impossible to ignore, a massive pulse of predatory life moving across the planet. But now, the signal was gone. At first, the technicians assumed the scanners were malfunctioning. Backup systems were activated, then a third set of sensors. All of them showed the same result: nothing. The apex beast had disappeared. Within hours, emergency messages began flooding the Central Command Network of the Galactic Predator Authority. Senior analysts gathered inside the monitoring chamber, staring at the holographic projection of Carthos, 9 rotating slowly in the center of the room. No biological signal detected? One officer asked. A technician shook his head. None. It's completely gone. Another officer leaned forward, his expression dark. That creature weighs nearly 40 tons and produces enough metabolic energy to power a small reactor. It cannot just disappear. But the data didn't lie. For the first time in recorded history, the most dangerous predator in the galaxy had vanished. At first, some people celebrated. Cargo routes near the Carthos system reopened. Traders who had avoided the region for years suddenly returned, eager to claim valuable mining territories nearby. A few reckless explorers even began discussing the possibility of landing on Carthos 9 itself. But inside the Predator Authority headquarters, no one was celebrating, because the disappearance didn't feel like a victory. It felt like a warning. One veteran hunter named Commander Marcus Hale stood silently near the holographic display. He had hunted dangerous creatures across 30 different star systems. He had survived encounters that had killed entire teams. And he had seen the apex beast once. Only once. That had been enough. The creature didn't die, Hale said quietly. The room fell silent. An analyst looked at him. What makes you so certain? Hale's eyes remained fixed on the rotating planet. Because predators like that don't just vanish. He pointed toward the empty sensor readings floating beside the planet. They move. A cold feeling spread through the room. If the apex beast had simply died, its massive biological signature would still be detectable. Even a corpse that large would leave traces. But if the signal had truly disappeared, that meant something far more dangerous. It meant the creature had left the planet. An officer frowned. That's impossible. The beast has never shown spacefaring capability. Hale slowly folded his arms. Neither did half the predators we studied before they adapted. Another analyst spoke up nervously. If it left Carthos 9, where would it go? No one answered immediately, because there were thousands of inhabited systems across the galaxy, billions of potential hunting grounds, and billions of possible victims. Commander Hale finally spoke again, his voice calm but heavy with certainty. If that creature's out there now, he looked around the silent room, then somewhere in this galaxy, something has just become the most hunted target in existence. But none of them knew yet how strange the truth really was. Because at that very moment, on a quiet human colony world far away from Carthos 9, the galaxy's deadliest predator was doing something no hunter could have imagined. It was sleeping peacefully. Within hours of the discovery, the calm halls of the Galactic Predator Authority turned into controlled chaos. Emergency protocols activated across multiple star systems. Communication towers lit up with priority signals, and hunter fleets that had been stationed across the outer colonies were immediately recalled. The disappearance of the apex beast was no longer a mystery. It was a galactic crisis. Inside the command chamber, a massive holographic star map filled the air. Hundreds of systems glowed softly across the projection, each one representing potential danger. Commander Marcus Hale stood at the center of the room with his arms crossed, studying the map. Around him, analysts spoke rapidly while feeding new data into the system. If the creature somehow left Carthos 9, one technician said, it could be anywhere within a 200 light-year radius by now. Another analyst shook his head nervously. That assumes it traveled randomly. Predators don't move without purpose. Hale nodded slowly. Exactly. He turned toward the map and expanded several nearby sectors. Creatures like this hunt where survival is easiest. Plenty of food, minimal competition. A young officer hesitated before speaking. You mean populated systems? Hale didn't answer immediately. He didn't need to. Everyone in the room already understood. If the apex beast had left Carthos 9, it wouldn't waste energy hunting small wildlife on empty planets. It would go where prey was abundant. Civilized space. Within minutes, the decision was made. The Authority launched the largest predator tracking mission in its history. It was called the Great Hunt. Hunter fleets departed from dozens of stations. Specialized tracking ships equipped with long-range biological scanners began sweeping through nearby sectors. Drones were deployed across asteroid belts, gas giants, and remote moons. Every system near Carthos 9 was scanned. For days, the galaxy waited. News of the vanished predator spread quickly across interstellar networks. Civilian broadcasts replayed old footage of destroyed hunting vessels. Analysts debated theories about what had happened. Some believed the creature had evolved beyond anything the galaxy had seen before. Others suggested a darker possibility. Maybe the apex beast had encountered something even stronger, something capable of killing it. But the hunters knew better. The apex beast didn't lose fights. It ended them. 3 weeks passed with no confirmed sightings. No attacks. No destroyed ships. Nothing. At first, that seemed like good news. But the longer the silence continued, the more uneasy the hunters became. Commander Hale spent most of those weeks aboard the Authority's flagship, the Iron Talon. The massive warship drifted near the edge of a quiet star system while its sensors scanned the surrounding space. Inside the bridge, officers monitored endless streams of data. Still nothing. Hale stared at the readings with growing frustration. Predators always left signs. Energy disturbances, scavenger activity, unusual animal migrations. But the apex beast had left no trail at all. It was as if the creature had simply vanished into empty space. Then, on the 23rd day of the hunt, everything changed. A sharp alarm echoed through bridge. One of the sensor officers suddenly leaned forward in his chair. Commander, I'm picking up something. Hale turned instantly. Explain. The officer tapped several commands, enlarging a small cluster of coordinates on the display. It's faint, but the biological pattern matches the apex beast's energy signature. The room went silent. After weeks of searching, they finally had a lead. Location? Hale asked. The officer hesitated. That's the strange part. He zoomed the star map outward. The signal wasn't near Carthos 9. It wasn't even in the surrounding predator sectors. Instead, it came from a peaceful region known for farming colonies and small civilian settlements. A quiet system called Eden Reach. Hale frowned slightly. That system has no major predators. Another officer checked the database quickly. Correct. The planets there support low-risk ecosystems, mostly agricultural colonies. Hale's expression hardened. Then why is the most dangerous creature in the galaxy there? No one had an answer, but the signal continued pulsing softly across the display. Weak, steady, alive, and unmistakably real. Hale turned toward the crew. Prepare a strike team. The bridge officers moved immediately. Within minutes, elite hunters assembled inside the ship's deployment bay. Armored exosuits locked into place. Plasma rifles were loaded and calibrated. Portable containment fields were prepared in case the creature could somehow be captured alive. Hale walked past a line of hunters, studying each of them. Every member of the team was a veteran. Every one of them knew the stories about the apex beast. One of the hunters finally asked the question everyone was thinking. Commander, if the signal is accurate, why hasn't the creature attacked anyone in that system yet? Hale paused beside the ramp of the dropship. That, he said quietly, is exactly what worries me. Moments later, the dropship launched from the Iron Talon, streaking through the silent darkness of space. Its destination, the colony world Eden 3, a peaceful human settlement surrounded by forests and open valleys, completely unprepared for the truth heading toward it. Inside the dropship, the hunters checked their weapons one final time, because somewhere on that quiet world, the galaxy's deadliest predator was waiting, and none of them were ready for what they were about to see. The dropship cut through the atmosphere of Eden, three like a falling blade. Below them, the world looked peaceful, too peaceful. Commander Marcus Hale stared through the cockpit window as forests and wide green valleys rolled beneath the clouds. Small lakes shimmered in the sunlight, and scattered human settlements dotted the landscape. Nothing about the planet looked dangerous. No burning cities, no emergency broadcasts, no signs of mass evacuation. It looked like a place where people lived quiet, simple lives, which made the situation even more unsettling. Because somewhere on this calm world, the most dangerous predator in the galaxy was hiding. Signal check, Hale ordered. Behind him, a technician scanned the tracker again. It's still there, Commander, the officer said. Same coordinates. Roughly 12 kilometers from our landing zone. Moving. The officer frowned. No. That answer made several hunters exchange confused glances. The apex beast was many things. Fast, intelligent, unstoppable. But it was never still. Predators at large needed constant movement to hunt and feed. Remaining stationary for long periods didn't make sense. Hale's eyes narrowed. Take us down. The dropship descended toward a wide valley, surrounded by towering trees. Tall grass swayed in the wind, and a narrow dirt path curved between the hills. It looked like farmland, not a battlefield. The landing struts touched the ground with a heavy thud. The ramp lowered slowly. 6 hunters stepped out, weapons raised and scanning. Their armored suits hummed quietly as targeting systems activated. Hale moved to the front of the group. Stay alert, he said calmly. The creature could be cloaking its presence. One of the hunters checked the scanner again. Commander, the signal is extremely close. How close? The hunter swallowed. 200 meters. The group froze. That was impossible. If the apex beast were truly that close, they should already hear it. The creature's footsteps alone were known to shake the ground. But the valley remained quiet. No roaring. No crashing trees. Only wind moving through the grass. Hale gestured forward. Move. The team advanced slowly through the field. Every step felt heavier than the last. Their weapons remained aimed forward, fingers resting on triggers. The grass grew taller as they moved deeper into the valley. Then the scanner suddenly beeped again. "Commander," the technician whispered. "What is it?" The hunter looked up slowly. "The signal is directly ahead." Hale pushed aside a cluster of tall grass and stepped forward. And then he stopped. The rest of the team nearly collided with him. For a moment, no one spoke, because in the center of the clearing stood something completely ordinary. A small human cabin. Wooden walls. A simple metal roof. A porch with a rocking chair sitting quietly in the sunlight. Smoke drifted lazily from a chimney. It looked like the home of a farmer or a mechanic. Certainly not the hiding place of a galactic apex predator. One of the hunters frowned. "Commander, the scanner says a creature is here." Hale's voice was low. "I see the reading." Another hunter aimed his weapon toward the house. "You think it's inside?" Before Hale could answer, the scanner beeped again. Louder, more urgent. The technician stared down at the display. "Wait! What?" The hunter looked up slowly. "It's not inside the house." Hale's grip tightened around his rifle. "Then where is it?" The hunter slowly pointed toward the far side of the cabin. "There." The team moved cautiously around the building. Their footsteps were almost silent against the grass. Hale reached the corner first. He raised his weapon and stepped around the wall. Then he froze. For several seconds, he didn't move. Behind him, one of the hunters whispered nervously, "Commander?" No answer. The hunter stepped forward beside him and immediately stopped as well. "What?" One by one, the rest of the team looked around the corner. Every single one of them went silent, because lying peacefully beside the cabin was the apex beast. The creature was even larger than the reports had described. Its massive body stretched across the grass like a living mountain of muscle and dark armored scales. Claws the size of swords rested gently in the dirt. Even while lying down, the creature was taller than most transport vehicles. One swing of its tail could probably destroy the entire cabin. But it wasn't attacking. It wasn't even awake. The apex beast was sleeping, curled comfortably in the warm sunlight. For a moment, none of the hunters could process what they were seeing. Their scanners were screaming warnings. Targeting systems highlighted the creature in bright red. But the monster itself looked calm, peaceful, as if it had absolutely nothing to fear. One of the hunters whispered in disbelief, "How?" Then something moved on the cabin porch. The hunters immediately raised their weapons. A human stepped into view. He looked completely ordinary. Mid-30s, worn work clothes, a mug in one hand. And when the man noticed the armed alien hunters staring at him, he simply blinked in confusion. Then he looked down beside the porch, at the sleeping apex beast, and casually said something that made every hunter's brain stop working. "Oh, don't worry." He took a sip from his mug. "He doesn't bite." For several seconds, no one moved. 6 elite hunters stood frozen in the tall grass, their weapons aimed at the largest and most feared predator in the galaxy. And the human on the porch had just casually said, "Don't worry, he doesn't bite." Commander Marcus Hale slowly lowered his rifle, but only slightly. The apex beast was still there, still breathing, still very much alive. Its massive chest rose and fell slowly as it slept, each breath producing a deep rumbling vibration that the hunters could feel through the ground. The creature's body was enormous, easily 40 tons of muscle and armored hide. Dark scales overlapped like natural plating, and its curved claws were longer than most combat knives. This was the same monster that had destroyed entire hunting fleets. The same predator that had turned the planet Carthos 9 into a graveyard for the bravest hunters in the galaxy. And yet, it looked completely relaxed, curled on its side like an oversized animal resting in the sun. One of the hunters whispered nervously, "Commander, it's real." Hale nodded slowly. "Oh, it's real." The human on the porch watched them for a moment, clearly confused by their reaction. "You guys with animal control or something?" he asked. The hunters didn't respond. Their attention was still locked on the sleeping creature. The scanner technician finally spoke again, his voice shaky. "Commander, the energy readings confirm it. This is the apex beast of Carthos 9. Another hunter muttered, "Impossible." The human frowned slightly. "Apex what?" Hale stepped forward cautiously, keeping his rifle lowered but ready. "My name is Commander Marcus Hale of the Galactic Predator Authority." The human blinked. "That sounds official." Hale gestured slowly toward the enormous creature beside the cabin. "Do you understand what that thing is?" The man followed his gaze. "Oh," he said casually. "You mean Atlas?" Every hunter looked at him. "Atlas?" One repeated. "Yeah," the human said. "That's what I named him." Hale stared at the man as if he had just spoken a completely unknown language. "You named it?" "Sure." The human leaned casually against the porch railing. Seemed rude not to. Behind Hale, one of the hunters whispered in disbelief. "That creature has wiped out at least 12 military hunting teams." Another added, "Entire ships have been destroyed trying to track it." The human slowly looked back down at the beast. Atlas twitched slightly in his sleep. One of his massive claws flexed lazily. The hunters instinctively raised their weapons again. But the human just chuckled. "Relax," he said. "He's just dreaming." The team exchanged stunned looks. Nothing about this situation made sense. Hale finally spoke again. "How long has that creature been here?" The human scratched the back of his neck. "Couple weeks, I guess." The hunters stared at him. "Couple weeks." "Yeah," the man said. "Showed up injured out in the forest." Hale's eyes narrowed. "Injured?" The human nodded. "Pretty bad, too. Big cut along his side. Looked like something tried to fight him." The hunters immediately began murmuring among themselves. Nothing on Carthos 9 had ever been capable of injuring the apex beast. Hale looked back at the creature carefully. Sure enough, faint scars were visible beneath its armored scales. The human continued talking casually. "Honestly, I thought he was going to die when I first found him." The hunters leaned forward slightly. "But you helped it?" Hale asked. The man shrugged. "Well, yeah." He took another sip from his mug. Didn't seem right leaving him out there bleeding. One of the hunters stared at him in disbelief. "You approached that creature while it was wounded?" "Sure. You weren't afraid?" The human thought about that for a moment. "I mean, a little." He gestured toward Atlas. "But he didn't attack me." As if hearing his name, the apex beast shifted slightly. Its massive head moved a few inches across the grass. Every hunter froze. Weapons snapped back into aiming position. One wrong movement, and the creature could wipe them all out. But instead of waking aggressively, Atlas simply stretched. His enormous body rolled slightly onto its side. And then something completely unbelievable happened. A deep, rumbling sound filled the air. It wasn't a growl. It wasn't a roar. It was softer, almost comforting. The human smiled. "See." He stepped down from the porch and casually walked toward the monster. The hunters almost shouted in panic. "Stop," one of them whispered. But the man ignored them. He reached the creature's enormous head and gently scratched behind one of its armored ridges. Atlas responded instantly. The rumbling sound grew louder. The ground vibrated softly beneath the hunter's feet. Commander Hale stared in absolute disbelief. The most dangerous predator in the galaxy was purring. One of the hunters whispered slowly, barely able to believe his own words. "That creature destroyed an entire fleet cruiser once." Another hunter finished the thought quietly. "And now it's acting like a house pet." The human glanced back at them with a grin. "Yeah." He scratched Atlas again, and the creature leaned slightly into the touch. "He's a big softy once you get to know him." Hale stared at the scene, trying to process what he was witnessing. The galaxy had spent decades trying to hunt this monster. Entire governments had feared it. But somehow, against all logic, against all reason, the apex beast of Carthos 9 had chosen to curl up peacefully beside the one species in the galaxy famous for doing the most dangerous thing imaginable. Humans. They didn't hunt monsters. They befriended them. For a long moment, the hunters simply stood there. No one spoke. No one moved. The sight in front of them had shattered everything they believed they knew about the apex beast of Carthos, 9. Commander Marcus Hale had spent most of his life studying predators. He had hunted creatures capable of destroying armored vehicles and wiping out entire teams of trained soldiers. But what he was seeing now didn't match any known predator behavior. The apex beast, Atlas, apparently, was resting peacefully in the grass while a human scratched the armored ridges behind its head. And the creature clearly enjoyed it. The deep rumbling purr vibrated through the ground again. One of the hunters whispered quietly, almost afraid to say the words out loud. That thing wiped out 3 battle cruisers during the Carthos expeditions. Another hunter finished the thought, and now it's being petted. The human, still scratching Atlas lazily, looked over at them. You guys keep saying that like it's surprising. Hale slowly stepped forward. You have no idea what you're dealing with. The human shrugged. Sure I do. He looked down at the massive creature beside him. Big guy. Wandered into the forest behind my place about 2 weeks ago. Looked like he'd been through a war. Hale studied the beast again. Up close, the scars were more visible now. Deep marks across its armored scales. Old wounds, but some looked fresh. You said something injured it. Hale said carefully. The human nodded. Yeah, big fight, judging by the damage. Whatever it was must have been nasty. The hunters exchanged uneasy glances. If something had managed to injure the apex beast, it meant there might be another creature capable of matching it. But that thought faded quickly as Hale noticed something else. The creature wasn't just relaxed. It was watching them. Atlas's enormous golden eyes slowly opened. The moment they did, every hunter's targeting system instantly screamed warnings. Weapons snapped upward. Energy rifles locked directly onto the beast's head. The valley went silent. The apex beast stared calmly at the armed hunters. Its massive chest rose slowly as it inhaled the air, analyzing them, measuring them. One swipe of those claws could end the entire team in seconds. Hale held his breath. Then the human casually scratched the creature again. Easy, Atlas, he said calmly. The beast blinked once. Then something incredible happened. Atlas lowered his head again and closed his eyes. The purring returned. The hunters stared in stunned disbelief. One of them whispered, It just ignored us. The human grinned slightly. Well, yeah. He took another sip from his mug. You're not a threat. Hale slowly lowered his weapon. How can you possibly know that? The man shrugged. Animals aren't complicated. Hale frowned. That creature is responsible for hundreds of deaths. The human thought about that for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. Probably. He gestured toward the beast. But when I found him, he wasn't a monster. The hunters listened carefully. He was bleeding, the human continued. Could barely stand. Looked like he crawled halfway across the forest trying to survive. Atlas shifted slightly, pressing his massive head closer to the human's leg. The gesture was unmistakably protective. So I fix him up, the human said simply. You treated his wounds? Yeah. And fed him? Of course. The hunters looked at one another again. The answer was becoming obvious. Predators across the galaxy followed one simple rule: loyalty to survival. And the human standing in front of them had done something no hunter ever had. He hadn't attacked. He hadn't tried to capture the creature. He had simply helped it. Commander Hale slowly exhaled. So the apex beast stayed. The human nodded. Yep. Atlas's tail moved slightly behind him, flattening the grass like a heavy wave. He could leave any time he wants, the man added. But he doesn't. One of the hunters whispered quietly. He chose you. Hale stared at the massive creature again. For decades, the galaxy had feared this predator. Entire military operations had been launched to eliminate it. But none of those efforts had ever succeeded, because they all made the same mistake. They treated the creature like a mindless monster. But now Hale understood something the rest of the galaxy had missed. Atlas wasn't loyal to strength. He was loyal to trust. The human scratched the creature's neck again. Atlas leaned into the touch with another rumbling purr. Hale slowly lowered his rifle completely. "Well," he said quietly, "I suppose that answers the biggest question." The human raised an eyebrow. "What question?" Hale looked at the giant predator resting peacefully beside him. The question of where the most dangerous creature in the galaxy went. Atlas opened one eye lazily. The commander allowed himself a small smile. It didn't disappear. He glanced back at his stunned hunters. "It simply found something worth protecting." The human chuckled softly. Atlas curled closer beside the cabin porch, his massive body settling comfortably into the grass. And for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy's deadliest apex predator had chosen a new role. Not hunter, not destroyer, but guardian of a human. Paw prints,